Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Nolin Ebel Ame with the news. First, the news headlines. Liberia's independence anniversary celebrations, President Buhari to receive the Republic's highest national honor. Senate screens additional ministerial nominees. Plus, prepare for unforeseen circumstances. NEMA alerts states prone to flooding. And now the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari departs Abuja Friday for Monrovia, Liberia to attend the 172nd Independence Anniversary celebrations of the country. Apart from being the special guest of honor at the event, President Buhari will receive the Grand Cordon of the Knighthood of Venerable Order of the Pioneers, Republic of Liberia's highest national honor. The award is presented by the government for outstanding and distinguished service in international affairs, government, religion, art, science, or commerce, and also for singular acts of philanthropy and deeds of heroism and valor. President Buhari will be accompanied by Governors Kayode Fayemi, Abdurrahman Abdurazak, and Maimala Buni of Ekiti, Kwara, and Yobe states respectively, as well as the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Mustafa Suleiman, and other top government officials. The president is expected back in the country later on Friday. The House of Representatives has mandated its Committee on Appropriations when constituted to ensure increased funding for the armed forces to enable them recruit more personnel into the military and update their equipment. In a motion of urgent public importance by Representative Uchechukwu Nnam Obi from Rivers State on the need to address the ambushing and killings of troops by Boko Haram, the lawmakers commended the gallantry of the military and urged the service chiefs to intensify their efforts towards the fight against terrorism to forestall loss of lives and property of Nigerians. In another motion of urgent public importance, the House resolved to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the land dispute between the FCT inhabitants and the Nigerian Army and report back in 1 week for further legislative action. Cognizant of the fact that the Senate has commenced investigation on the matter. This is to address security threats and imminent breakdown of law and order in the Federal Capital Territory. This motion was brought before the House of Representatives. Micah Yohana Jiba, representing the FCT. Strengthening the unity of Nigeria is taking a different dimension as officers and men of the 32nd Artillery Brigade Owena Cantonment Akure are being exposed to understanding the country's indigenous languages. Abiola Rio reports that the 6 weeks training organized by the National Institute of Cultural Orientation is expected to enhance the performance of the officers in the discharge of their duties.
Training aims at promoting peaceful coexistence among officers of the Nigerian Army when it comes to communication and promoting indigenous culture among them.
It will assist the men of 32 Artillery Brigade in carrying out the internal security operation within the state.
Having trained for over 2 months in Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba languages, some officers of the 32 Artillery Brigade expressed the belief that the language program will go a long way in boosting their confidence and making them productive in the discharge of their duties.
I learned Igbo language and I could be able to say some things in Igbo in the course of my studies.
I was in Hausa class. I can count from 1 to 100.
The National Institute of Cultural Orientation primary responsibilities include harnessing the country's cultural resources to meet the challenges of social integration, peace, unity, and national development. In Akure, Abiola Rio, NTA News.
And on NEMA, the National Emergency Management Agency has alerted all states that are prone to flooding on the need to start putting in place measures that will avert destruction of lives and property in their areas. The Director General of the agency, Mustafa Maihaja, stated this while interacting with Niger State Deputy Governor on flooding in his state. Musa Babaliu has the details.
Niger, Kebbi, Sokoto, Kwara and Kogi states were put on flood alert by the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency and sought for urgent relocation of residents living around the bank of River Niger. It is as a result of this alert that the Niger State Deputy Governor Muhammad Keso visited the headquarters of the National Emergency Management Agency with a view to discussing the expected flooding.
Niger State, we have the largest place where our people are based in the River area. So at the bank of the River Niger, we are having those challenges. And relocating them is a very big problem. And why we're having that problem is because of continual siltation of the River Niger.
The Director General NEMA says the agency will require the support of all relevant state government agencies in tackling disaster-related issues.
The vertical and horizontal structure that is in place is weak at the state level. We have been engaging the state governments, and there is very good improvement in the capacity. We also have been assisting them in building their capacity. It's a better situation than it was 2017.
NEMA has been providing support to the victims of 2018 flooding across the country, as directed by the President. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And on Senate, the Senate has screened additional ministerial nominees. The nominees were drilled on their expected contributions to reforming the oil sector and improving security so far. 24 ministerial nominees have been screened, with 19 remaining after the Day 2 exercise.
Resumed consideration of the request of Mr. Presidency in C for the confirmation of nominees for appointments as ministers of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The nominees answered questions from distinguished senators on a number of topical issues. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole?
The Federal Capital Territory Administration has launched a mobile phone application known as FastGov. It is designed to further bridge the gap of communication between the administration and residents of the Federal Capital Territory. Mariam George Jutabo has details.
When the FCT call center was conceived some years ago, it was to engender a synergized, quick and efficient response to complaints from services rendered to residents and feedback on policies using the instrumentality of FCT secretariats, departments and agencies, says the Permanent Secretary, FCTA, Christian Oha.
We are here for the public presentation of a mobile phone application through which, within a fraction of the time it previously took, members of the public can make inquiries, lay complaints, or access information.
Director Information and Communication, FCT, Stella Ojeme, said the FastGov app will enhance productivity and output as well as meet the yearnings of FCT residents.
FastGov is simply a web and mobile application which will enable the public to communicate and transact with government faster than the conventional method.
App work in such a way that even if you have the means of sending pictures, the picture too will be shown in your complaint.
The administration is urging the public to take advantage of this app to lay complaints, make commendations and suggestions for the progress of the Federal Capital Territory. Mariam George, Jitubo, NTA News.
The Nigerian Television Authority, in partnership with the Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, has organized a free health screening for staff of the organization to prevent heart-related diseases. Joshua Ojito reports that the exercise is part of measures to provide a healthy workforce.
It is another promising day for Abubakar Sadiq, who works with the NTA. And like any other day, he resumes for the day's schedule and was greeted with the news of the free health screening, an opportunity he joined other colleagues to benefit.
Anything that is happening pertaining to the health, NTA's management always try to bring it to the staff, very close to them, so that most of the staff can participate to have the share of it.
The exercise is to, among others, facilitate early detection of cardiovascular disease and provide necessary preventive measures.
Generally, we advise everybody to do regular medical checkup. That's number one. Number two, exercise is really very important.
The outcome of this test will go a long way in improving the productivity of our staff.
For Sadiq and many other staff who benefit in the exercise, they say the opportunity has no doubt enabled them to know their health status.
Our schedule here is really tight, so it's good that we monitor our total health situation to know what the state of our health is.
Then we'll ask the staff and other people to come and know their status.
The free health screening is part of activities to commemorate this year's Diaspora Day. In Abuja, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Away from health to safety now, Federal Road Safety Corps and the Joint Tax Board have agreed to shift the enforcement date on motorcycle and tricycle licenses and number plates to October 2nd, 2019. The Corps Public Education Officer, BC Kazim, stated this at a media briefing in Abuja. Oyeyemi Ajayi has details.
Prior to the initial August 1st, 2019 deadline issued to motorcyclists and tricycle owners and riders by the Federal Road Safety Corps for proper licensing and acquisition of number plates, it becomes pertinent for a shift on the enforcement date in order to allow the Joint Tax Board, JTB, to further sensitize the state governments as well as motorcyclists and tricycle riders of proposed clampdown.
The grace period will also be utilized for further engagement and consultation with relevant stakeholders and sensitization of members of the public on the importance of the licenses and the need for all operators to adhere strictly to the laws on use of the road.
Not only this, as part of ways of stemming the tide of criminality among other social vices, the Corps will begin to apprehend vehicle plate numbers which are not registered in the Corps database.
To confirm number registration status via SMS, you type SMS verify plate number, that is NO, to 33324.
The Corps is however urging motorists to properly register their vehicles as well as motorcycles and tricycles for easy identification, especially in the face of insecurity in the country. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
You are watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. Time to take a short break. We shall be back with more news in a moment. Stay with us.
National Alliance Against Drug Abuse, NADA, presents the second National Youth Conference on Drug Abuse. Theme: Reversing the Drug Abuse Trend in Nigeria. Date: Tuesday, 8 August 2019 at the International Conference Center, Abuja. Time is 9 a.m. prompt. For sponsorships, call 090-850-10,000. Proudly supported by NTA.
Thank you for staying with us. Moving on, news and uproar about the prevalence of rape have dominated public discussions in Nigeria in recent times. Determined to provide scientific evidence on the subject matter, NOIPOLS undertook research on the perception of Nigerians about rape, its causes, effects, and methods of mitigation. Onengeyi Fineface reports on the findings made.
Our research conducted by NOIPOLS shows that 1 in every 3 girls would have experienced sexual assault before they attain age 25, with majority of the cases not reported while offenders go unpunished. The NOIPOLS report on rape is responding to recurrence of non-consensual, forced and unwanted sexual activities against victims from different parts of the country. More worrisome is the finding that Nigeria's laws are ambiguous in determining the age of a minor, and the fact that most Nigerians believe underage children and persons under the influence of alcohol can consent to sex.
We have different laws that kind of couch it at different ages. The penal code has age of consent at 14. The criminal code has age of consent at 18. We have a Child Right Act that defines a child as someone less than 18 and that person cannot give consent.
Key recommendations derived from the NOIPOL's investigation on rape include improved awareness and advocacy against sexual assault with focus on its causes, effects, punishment for offenders, and management for victims. NOIPOL is a research-based organization established to provide opinion polling, analytics, and strategic consulting services in the West African sub-region. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
And still on rape, worried by incessant cases of rape of minors in Ondo State, stakeholders have staged a work against rape and other acts of violence against adolescent girl, child, and women across the state. Toyin Bature reports that the stakeholders unanimously advocate stiffer penalties for perpetrators.
In recent times, cases of sexual molestation, especially rape of minors, have been on the increase in Ondo State and across the country. About 2 weeks ago, 2 children were violently raped in the state. These cases generated lots of condemnation from stakeholders, with many of them calling for more strategic action to put an end to such ugly practices. This work is one of such efforts. The work rally, which took off from the Deji's Palace in Akure, had in attendance representatives of the Ondo State government, Ministry of Women Affairs, women groups, men and school children, all with various placards indicating war against rape in the state.
Rape is totally should be abandoned, should be, the punishment should be life imprisonment.
The stakeholders stopped at strategic locations to sensitize the public on the need to fight against the menace, which has become an epidemic.
Giving the girl child enough of problem, and therefore any penalty that is stiff in whatever form should be used.
It shouldn't be. We must stop it. It must be stopped in our society.
It should be eradicated, and the only way I think that could be done is to give them capital punishment.
Many attributed the high incidences of rape to poor parenting and challenged mothers especially to take their responsibility to the child more seriously.
I want to implore the women of Nigeria to ensure that they take proper care of their female children. It is very bad for somebody, an adult, to be raping a child of 4 years, 7 years old.
The work rally was held simultaneously across the 18 local government areas of the state. In Akure, Toyin Batire, NTA News.
Now, do you know that the Marriage Act is just like other extant laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Are you also aware that its violation may lead to a maximum of 21 years imprisonment? Well, the good news is that the federal government is now opening up avenue for unauthorized marriage institutions to ratify and as well validate their records at approved marriage registries. Doindia reports.
Under license.
Child marriage, violent disagreement among couples, unlawful cohabitation, false declaration by intending couples, incest, and forceful marriages are few of the cases which the lead discussant, Ifeoma Onoye, said are prevailing cases in the society which attract stiff punishment under the Marriage Act.
If you're a minister of church and you knew that these parties that have come before you, one of them is not of a marriageable age, and you went ahead and married them without obtaining the parental consent by some untruthful statement, knowingly or recklessly, there's a penalty attached to it, which has imprisonment term.
Societal mandates on the institution of marriage.
These and other issues relating to ignorance, lack of proper counseling for intending couples, those already married, as well as religious institutions was the basis for this conference.
So that they can insist on going to a registered place or licensed place of worship to celebrate their marriage, and they can receive a proper marriage certificate, a legal marriage certificate.
What we were taught here is different with our own, but all registered is there. When you get married, you must have, at least when you wanted to divorce again, you must have a divorce letter from the court.
About 10 years now, our certificate, we have seen soft pedal on that, and we are using majorly the certificate that is being issued by the Ministry of Interior, for the fact that when we have to go out of the country, that certificate of the church is not usually recognized.
Grace Demisa is just preparing to walk the aisle to tie the knot with her spouse. Little does she know that her engagement at this event will be much more than she expected.
All I knew was, okay, maybe I'm a Christian, get married in church, then get married in court. But I don't know what it entails, what makes, marriage to be valid. I have to look in properly before I get married.
And so the conference is expected to come up with a resolution that will help build synergy between the marriage registry and its critical partners, address some of the common challenges related to the marriage institution in Nigeria, and provide a recommendation for use by authorities within and outside the shores of the country. In Abuja, Doing Dia, NT News.
And on business news, Olayinka Ojo is standing by with a trending news from the financial sector.
Welcome to Business News. The Nigerian interbank foreign exchange market received another boost of $210 million from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The CBN director in charge of corporate communications, Isaac Okorafor, added that authorized dealers in the wholesale sector of the market received $100 million, while the small and medium enterprises and the invisibles segments were allotted $55 million each. The Debt Management Office has offered 3 instruments, 5-year, 10-year and 30-year tenors, with a total value of 145 billion naira for subscription to the investing public at its July 2019 FGN bond auction. 298 competitive bids were received from investors for the 3 instruments, with a total value of 301.02 billion naira, indicating a subscription level of 207.6%. Let's now take a quick check on how the equities market fared this Thursday. I am Olayinka Ojo.
Thank you, Olayinka. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, has urged navies in the West African sub-region to develop a common network that will facilitate greater integration for seamless information sharing across the entire sub-region. Vice Admiral Ibas gave this charge at the opening ceremony of the 60th anniversary of the Ghana Navy. He emphasized that it would equally be expedient for member countries to reduce the bureaucracy required to share information, train personnel in common official language used by member nations, as well as develop and share data regarding convicted offenders of maritime crimes. These measures, he posited, would greatly enhance maritime operations and the collective desire to rid the Gulf of Guinea of criminality within the shortest possible time. And on sports news, Nigeria moves to 33rd on the latest FIFA ranking, maintaining a 3rd position in Africa. Olumide Guntola has this and more on our sports